here at France's Tavern in Lower Manhattan because I wanted to go see, finally, the Evacuation Day Ceremony. Evacuation Day is when the British Army left New York on November 25th, 1783. It's when the war ended, the treaty was signed, and now the Britain recognized the sovereignty of the United States, so they couldn't have troops in any American cities, although they kind of kept some of the forts out west in like Ohio. And apparently, Evacuation Day was the big holiday until Thanksgiving became the thing. With U.S. history and culture generally, there is this idea, this belief in American exceptionalism that the whole world was ruled by absolutist totalitarian despots, and then America ended that. And that's an oversimplification of history because it assumes that anywhere not America is a people without history. Rush Limbaugh, he said, "Oh, poor America, the world was ruled by despots," and it's not quite that simple. How exceptional really was the United States? And the American education system is like, yes, of course. One, this is self-evident. Why would you say anything otherwise? That they're really decorating France's Tavern. It's really cool what they're doing there. I've never live streamed before. I'm just trying out this new thing. I thought it'd be better on YouTube than on other areas because I saw people do it. You get your thoughts out, get all your thoughts out. You don't have to organize everything. Will it work? No idea. No one's here yet. Nope, no one is here at all. I got a busy day today. After this, I'm going to go to Edison, New Jersey, to catch the Edison train show. And it's like my particular life thought process, whatever. It has been all these streams, not like web streams, but streams of thought, consciousness, identity, and I think they're all connected. But I've never been able to articulate why or how. And what it fundamentally is the British involvement in American youth culture. It didn't just start with the Beatles. In a way, it was always true before, Daniel Webster and other cultural nationalists, and there was not Hawthorne. Washington Irving, that's it, Washington Irving, said, no, we need a separate American culture. Oh, who's Pear Duck? I'm sorry, no titties. There are plenty of great places where you can find titties, but not here. It's too cold for me to strip down. But I appreciate that. Oh, wow. Well, 6 people are following. Wow. Okay. I'm pretty down with this streaming thing. So, yeah, I'm here at France's Tavern. It's one of the few historic buildings in New York from the 18th century, from the 1700s. There's France's Tavern. There's the old stone house in Brooklyn. And in Staten Island, there's Conference House. CGP Grey did a video in this. So, Dusty Oat Milk. This is New York City. This is Lower Manhattan. And Lower Manhattan has a lot of history. It's the one founded by the Dutch when the English took it over in 1664. And here's why New York is called New York. The New York is not scary. Shut up. No, it's like you're stuck in the 80s, man. Giuliani, for all the things he did, helped with the crime problem. And this is Lower Manhattan, so this is where all the hoity-toity fancy stuff is. Like France's Tavern. It didn't used to be hoity-toity or fancy. It was for a while, then it wasn't. Cities have evolutions, as do countries, as do peoples, as do nations, as do all identities. And I'm here for the Evacuation Day Ceremony, November 25th, 2024, when the British Army left New York City. Oh, what's this? Yeah, but I mean like Home Alone type scary. I mean, sure, yeah. But what's funny, A lot of rural folks try to put down urban life. Meanwhile, like you can't do the opposite for some reason because rural life is about production of food and the raw materials, and surely that's much more noble than any sort of urban cultural development, whether it's high end goods, cultural goods, governance. What cities do and what urban spaces do has been a part of the human condition forever. You find it in Gilgamesh, you find it in Homer, you find it in Greek plays, you find it today. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And one of these is how national identity is formed, unfortunately or fortunately, however it is. It's just overwhelming. Yeah, no, I can totally see that. I can totally see that. A lot of people, they they stay in their apartments or they go out a lot. I'm the first one. I'm people. Oh, Loga. Wait, Logan's here? Whoa, dude. Uh, New York militia Rolling Rock. I know I've heard of the Rolling Rock. I know there are a bunch of New York militias. They were involved in the Civil War. There was, I don't know if there still is, this organization called the Hearts of Oak Militia Company. When you first look at them, they're in green jackets, so you think they're loyalists. No, they're not loyalists. And Alexander Hamilton, I think he was in that company. I don't know if they're still around. I don't know if they might be here today. So I'm here at Evacuation Day 2024. And in 9 years, it'll be the 250th anniversary. And by the way, Loga, this is why I am not going to be at More Freedom Foundation's thing. I'm going to be doing this instead. American culture and history has kind of a core contradiction that we really need to deal with, or quite simply, the standard narrative of the revolution that everyone was suffering under totalitarian tyranny and then America solved that problem is really not tenable. It's not anymore. Not thanks to globalization, where we can learn more about the histories of different parts of the world. And ironically, it's Poland, even more than Britain, that shows that contradiction. Because, well, Poland had an elected monarchy, very much elected, a very strong legislature. They had various regional autonomies. They had diversity. But of course, they were eaten up by enlightened absolutist states, Prussia, Russia, and Austria. And this was during the French Revolution. But more especially, let's go back to Britain here. A lot of American national identity is the rejection of British national identity, which makes a lot of sense. But thanks to the internet, different cultures can talk to each other. And wow, Britons and Americans, they pretty much speak the same language. They're mutually intelligible. Chips versus fries, crisps versus chips. That's minor. Lorry versus bus. Like, that's not that hard. But what that current Russia? No, absolutely not. No way. Man, look, I had an ancestor who was in the Imperial Russian Army, and even then I say no. Russian reactionary ideology, which is basically maintaining orthodoxy, autocracy, and nationality into the 20th century, is just not tenable. If Nicholas II and his ancestor Alexander III decided, wait a minute, the Germans and the Austrians are trying to do some sort of constitutional monarchy thing with an elected assembly, cool, we can make that work. But no, that's not what they did. You talk about Alexander Stolypin, the prime minister who tried to modernize the Russian peasantry by making them into yeoman farmers. He was killed by Russian reactionaries. He was killed by the nobility. They were like, no, we can't do that. No, the only way it would work is if the Tsar was purely a cultural unifying figure, not involved in policy. Now, you could say that anything's better than Putin. I mean, yeah, I guess, but Putin is more czarist than Soviet. The fundamental problem is serious history geeks, history academics. What is this? Oh, thank you, Dusty Oat Milk. Thank you, Paul. Yes, I acknowledge you, Paul. How you doing, man? If this is the Paul who I think it is, you're awesome. Thank you for coming to this. Wow, I've never done a live stream before. I thought I'd be just talking to the wind, but apparently not. So that's awesome. What is there like a link sent out to all my subscribers? Thank you, all my subscribers. I was almost at 400 for a while. Now I'm like 398. I'm losing people. I don't know why I'm losing people. Maybe I need to be more or less provocative. And being provocative, I like being ideologically provocative. That oh, what's this? Oh, you think I'm cute? Good, good. See, I like the beard. I'm keeping the beard. I don't care what anyone says. I'm keeping this damn beard. Um, and so this is France's Tavern. This is where, in 1783, after the British Army left, George Washington dismissed the officers of the Continental Army. The Continental Army disbanded. That means it was just no longer an army anymore. It's just people. Why did the Dutch? Oh, actually, I got a good answer for you. They didn't really care. They had way more valuable properties. I think it was during the Anglo-Dutch War, one of them, I think the second or third one. But do you want to know why New York is called New York? That high praise indeed, Paul. High praise indeed. Yeah. I see it. Oh my gosh, I see it. I haven't had my headshots taken in 5 years. You know, headshots for acting, but I got a different look now. It's been 5 years. Let's get new headshots. Where is Harry? I don't know. What I do know is in like an hour, there's going to be like all these guys coming for the Evacuation Day Ceremony. And I thought I'd kind of do my first live stream here. So thank you all one of you, other people left. Okay, that's fine. Oh, what's this? No, I'm not going to rob any toy stores. I don't know how many toy stores there are really here in Lower Manhattan. I'm sure there's like a couple. Look, I don't want to go into a guy's house and take his stuff. That's dumb and wrong. Like why? What's the point of that? And these numbers are weird. No. Like if New York declared independence as a free city state, that'd be kind of cool. But New York is called New York because it was conquered by the Duke of York, who would be the future James II, who would be overthrown in 1688 in the Glorious Revolution, which didn't just happen in England. It obviously happened in Ireland. There was a lot of big stuff in Ireland and in North America too. One of the big problems in American historiography teaching is the colonial period is not treated atlantically. Like Britain and America are treated as totally separate entities, and that is just objectively incorrect. I understand why it is. You know, it's like, oh, let's treat all colonial period as purely to the revolution. And hello, Party Up 210 Productions. Um, okay, I don't know how many of you guys I know. Oh, what's this? Why is I can tell you why Dusty Oak Milk, Virginia, is called Virginia. It was named after the Virgin Queen Elizabeth I. That's why it was called that. And Virginia's land grant was originally the whole continent. And that's why the Carolinas are called the Carolinas, while why Georgia is called Georgia. The southern colonies were named after monarchs. Virginia for Elizabeth I, the Carolinas for Charles II, who was the restored king. Georgia for George the first or second. But my general point is a more Atlantic approach to teaching American history, at least up to 1815 with the end of the War of 1812, would actually be very informative. Because I don't think American exceptionalism is a tenable idea. Now, I don't want to go all 1619. I don't think that's the right approach either, because that's just flipping that idea on its head. What would be much more effective would be more of a realist position. Of course I know about Peter the Great. Come on. What do you take me for? I got a friend of mine who looks like Peter the Great. You know, you hear the stories about him, you know, how, you know, he was this grand assembly, he was in disguise, he would look at the Dutch Navy, how he designed the Russian flag to look kind of like the Dutch flag. His wars with Charles the 10th of Sweden, his beard policy, his general modernization plans, you know, that he got rid of the Strelsky. No, that was him. Yeah, that was him. Oh yeah, of course, I know about Peter the Great. What's interesting is after Peter the Great, there were like three czarinas. Like the Russian Imperial Russian crown was held by women. I forget who the first one was. That was Elizabeth. No, no. The unification of the U.S. with Mexico after 1848. I mean, no. Why? Well, what would that accomplish? On the other hand, see, northern Mexico is like a buffer zone. It's all it's all desert and mountains. But the Rio Grande as a border makes sense. It's defensible. It's just border walls are usually just a useless waste of time and money. That would be better spent elsewhere. Um, should the state be determining the demographics of its population? That's the ultimate question. And that implies that demography, what your genes are, defines your identity. But that's objectively wrong. And America shows how that's wrong. Because, of course, identity is constructed. Of course, it's malleable. That is why nationalists want control of schools. That's why they do their things. Because by saying you are this in an educational environment, that is how you build identity and community. Uh, but with the way education schooling is, the things that schools do have just become just as unbundled as religion. Meaning, schools were designed 200, 230 years ago. You go to a place, you get your books and your pencils or pens and your paper, and you learn how to write and read. And oh, what's this? By the way, I'm cooking dinner. Oh, wait, hey, thank you. Wow. Okay, where are you now? So, Party Up 210 Productions. Are you in Asia? Like Japan, India, Singapore, China, Indonesia. Um, I have no idea where you are. I heard. Yes, that was because of Ataturk, Mustafa Kemal. After he took Yorkshire. Oh yeah, but then it's only what 3 p.m. in Yorkshire. You're cooking dinner at 3 p.m. Are you doing an early dinner? And that's pretty cool. What are you having? Are you doing the Yorkshire pudding? The was it the Sunday roast at 3 p.m. Early dinner, late lunch. Uh, oh yes. Of course, of course, of course, of course, of course. Right, that. See, this is the point I'm trying to get at. That I kind of ramble on. That American culture is so tied into British culture, and we tried to deny it since Washington. Oh, steak, nice. So since Washington Irving in the early 19th century, so much of American culture is about a rejection of British culture, but that's just not tenable because same language. So American identity had to be constructed. That is why um, the Puritans and especially Columbus were so pushed because this is American identity separate from British identity. But gosh, who else was producing lots of stuff? Who had the universities? Who had the cultural institutions? Who had the theaters? So a lot of American cultural products were just imported British cultural products. Now, throughout the 19th century, there was a very broad movement from Washington Irving, Nathaniel Hawthorne. It was Andrew Carnegie, a good man. Man, I gotta look more into the big industrialists of the late 19th century. Uh, you got Ida Tarbell talking about the creation of Standard Oil and their awful business practices, but like these guys with their wealth, that they did stuff. They actually did socially useful things. They didn't just make the numbers go up. they didn't just produce for the sake of production, although they did that. And sure, they had really nasty business practices. But I'll be honest with you, I was always much more inspired by the enlightened absolutists than the quote unquote robber barons. Um, but I feel with history generally, we have to move beyond the simple goody baddie thing. Instead, taking a more realist approach. What were the people? What were the institutions? What were they doing? Why were they doing them? Were they lying? The answer is yes. Lying is just a part of the human condition. Lying means, hey, I'm doing this for good reasons, not just for self-interest, which is only somewhat true. Uh, but I don't know if I've got any more of my UK followers still watching, or if the numbers go down. It goes up and down. I guess it depends on who has the window open. I've never live streamed before. This is my first live stream. Maybe I should be doing more live streams. But the point is, American exceptionalism. Uh, well, there was even a cavalry charge in Afghanistan. During the invasion. Um, in Vietnam, helicopters were air cavalry. And hey, if the gas is gone forever, you're gonna have to move lots of people, and it's easier to feed a horse with grass and oats than it is to feed a car with gas. If all of our transit and movement and fuel infrastructure goes down. But Brandon F., who's amazing, you should check it out. He has a whole video on cavalry in the First World War and how they actually were useful. That even like cavalry charges against machine guns were effective in certain circumstances. I don't know how that worked, but I guess war fighting is more than just roll die and roll your dice and apply damage based on your dice roll. You've got all these different sciencey things to make the warring work. I'm gonna stand up here. What's this? This guy's talking. What's he talking about? He's doing a walking tour. I know people who do walking tours. I don't know if the people who do walking tours are watching me. Well, there's all these walking tours down in Lower Manhattan. Actually, why don't I show you all what Francis Tavern looks like without my big stupid head? There we go. Those banners, those are new. I haven't been down here in a while. Let's see. I got an hour until the Evacuation Day Ceremony starts. I don't know if people are going to be hanging around here or not. I'm going to step back down. I'm trying to get the point is American exceptionalism is not a tenable idea because we are much more able today because there are people from Yorkshire on this stream now. People can talk to each other. American and British history, you can actually see them together more because British and Americans can talk to each other, and you see this in the wikis, in TV tropes, in Wikipedia, where there's much more of a yeah, exactly. In TV tropes and Wikipedia, you see people rejecting the standard American patriotic narrative about the revolution. And it's not necessarily from the progressive viewpoint of, oh, well, it didn't really do anything for, non-white men. And, fair enough. But even, it wasn't the universal liberation of all mankind that a lot of people thought. Even Thomas Paine, who proved to be probably the most accurate out of anyone. But if you actually look at Common Sense, he talks about the British monarchy and um, how all the claims of liberation after 1688 was nonsense. The problem is most Americans don't even know about 1688, the Glorious Revolution. No one thinks about it. And I even asked Mike Duncan, who has this wonderful podcast called Revolutions, about the 1688 Glorious Revolution. His first season was about the English Civil War from 1642 to 16. 1660. That was pretty good. His series on the American Revolution, on the other hand, was not very good. He was still working with old, Balin and Wood framing. It was more about the movement of the armies, and it's like no, that's not. Although it actually is very useful because instead of being ideological, which is what boomers do, that's like kind of the core of 20th century thought, and we're a quarter of the way to the 21st century now with major revolutions in cultural technology, and we're still using the framing of decades back. Why? What does that accomplish? That's just pure ignorance for ignorance's sake. Okay, ramble. I guess that's the whole appeal of these streams, right? Ramble, that stream of consciousness stuff. How do you like the beard? I like the beard. I'm gonna keep the beard. I need a haircut. I lost my train of thought again. Isn't that great? Hopefully, if I got more people following the stream, they can say, "Hey, Dave, this is what you're talking about." But I never know what I'm talking about half the time. People think I'm a liar. A lot of people say, "Hey, Dave, you're not honest." Like, no, I'm a terrible liar. Are you kidding me? Um, there we go. It's just all two people are seeing into this guy's brain. I've always been fascinated by the Revolutionary period, but not from like the Newt Gingrich, was it founder chic idea? Oh, this is a birth of human freedom. We gotta follow those old models. It's more about you grow up on Roald Dahl, on C.S. Lewis, maybe J.R.R. Tolkien, Wilbert Audrey, and then you see this culture for what it is. But then you look at patriotic American history, it's like, wait a minute, these guys are like demons. But look at their cultural production. How do you square that circle? And now people are realizing, wait, this is stupid. We don't have to square this circle. Let's look at our history honestly. And that doesn't just require looking at, slavery and native genocide. It also looks at how much of an iteration are we on British civilization. And not as much as you'd think, but that requires actually looking at British history, taking it seriously. Because when in the States, when we look at British history, we just focus on like the Tudors, on Henry VIII and Elizabeth I, and then treating George III like he's like the Tudors, and then just jumps to Churchill. And what's this? What? Who? Oh, you don't know who Frederick the Great was? Oh man, okay. Frederick the Great was king of Prussia from 1740 to 1786. Prussia was one of the states of the Holy Roman Empire. They were on the Baltic coast, so in the northeast, based around the city of Berlin. And it was like a lot of different lands, all spread out from like the Rhineland to the Berlin core to the city of Königsberg. Yes, the city of Königsberg, which was conquered by the the Teutonic Knights. They were one of those orders found to fight the Crusades, but they fought the Eastern European Crusades against the Latvians, who were pagans, not Christians. They were the last people in Europe to embrace Christianity, and they did it at the point of the sword from the Teutonic Knights. And their base of operations was in the city of Königsberg, which became Prussia. And through various shenanigans, Prussia and Brandenburg united into the electorate of Brandenburg, Prussia. By 1740, they were ruled by Frederick II of the House of Hohenzollern, and that started a big war, the War of the Austrian Succession. Someone asked me what my favorite war was. That's probably it. Where it's Frederick the Great in Prussia versus Maria Theresa in Austria. And Frederick the Great won handily. And what's this? Why was yes, because no one cared. It's like, no, you're not king of Prussia. Get out of here. No, Germany's a republic now, including Prussia. So, like, yes, he said, oh, no, I'm still king of Prussia. Like, no one cares. Get out of here. Just go to the Netherlands. Your whole family kind of screwed up everything. We're going to do something different. But it was kind of a mess. That's what the Weimar Republic was, because Berlin was, like, barely functional. You had the Spartacists. You had various socialist groups. When talking about the 20th century, Everyone goes, oh yeah, World War II, the 6 years, 39 to 45. No, no, no. The most important 6 years in the 20th century were between 1917 and 1926. Um, because that's where everything kicked off. That's where all the empires collapsed, and that's where all these new systems were trying to consolidate. Not just the Bolsheviks in Russia, but also the new countries: Poland, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, um, Hungary, um, Turkey. What's interesting is now there's a lot more interest in Turkey and Ataturk, Mustafa Kemal, realizing that that was another model. That wasn't socialism. Well, it was kind of socialistic. And socialism wasn't a bad word in the early 20th century. Well, it kind of was. It was just another political faction. And then Lenin kind of screwed it up by being so bloodthirsty. But a lot of people are like, no, that bloodthirstiness was necessary. You had to end imperialism. And it's like, yeah, but he's just an imperialist like everyone else. Same with Trotsky. Uh, that being said, it's good and useful to study, all the socialists, from was it Gracchus Babeuf, Charles Fourier, like even the guys before Marx and then Marx. What's this? Who was? Oh, okay. So I used to think that no, it's everyone's fault. It was the whole system of European alliances, and that's true. But I have actually come to the conclusion that yeah, the Germans do ultimately bear most of the blame, but I'll explain why. Because it's not let's conquer the world. It's like the idea of the German state as it evolved from the Prussian state was if we do a war, we will benefit. That made sense when Prussia was just Brandenburg and like these disparate territories. And it made sense to form the German Empire. But after that, that where else could they expand to? After they got Alsace-Lorraine, what? They could eat up Belgium, or at least maybe parts of Belgium. That would just piss people off. What would that accomplish? So basically, the Prussian model of statecraft collapsed in the First World War, just along with every other older system that has its origins in the 17th century. So yes, I'm going to put on my hood. Yes, World War One was Germany's fault, not out of a desire to conquer the world, but out of a institutional ideological inertia within the German imperial defense establishment that if we do a war, we will benefit. But that was that was the limits of what their thought process was. They probably had more interest in taking the Russian Empire, which included Poland and the Baltics. But then there's the European alliance system, which again made much more sense when the countries were smaller and less populated and powerful. Where armies weren't the whole population, but just a monarch's personal plaything. You can't really do that with mass levies, with whole conscripted populations. It just wouldn't work. It might have worked throughout the 19th century, where wars were short and industry was only starting. But by the 20th century, that just didn't work anymore. World War One was basically systems collapse of all the ideas that defined Europe since the 1600s. So yeah, ultimately the destruction. Like no one really thinks about Prussian militarism anymore because it's been destroyed. So what's this? If Queen Victoria, no, no, that's a dumb question because like she was really old when she died in 1901. Like no, I just don't see it. Um, because these wars aren't made by the monarchs; they're made by the country's defense establishments anyway. Yeah, Willie and Nikki they converse by telegram, but they're not really the ones making policy. Even in absolutist Russia, it's more the state defense apparatuses, which need to be very, very complicated. To even get these armies to work, and you'll buy 1915, the traditional armies that kind of collapsed. It's like, okay, we just need more bodies. Give them a rifle, just throw them at the trenches and see what happens. And you could do that because of the technology is, sit, roll the rifle. It's much less complicated than going through a whole black powder fire mechanism. You've got your fixed machine guns and just pull a trigger. It's much easier than prime and load with musket balls and ramrods and firelocks. You could now. Oh, what's this? Now, mass levies became even more feasible than even during the French Revolution. You could just throw bodies at the problem. And I mean, people talk about the French Revolution. What I love about the French Revolution is that you can take all these different perspectives on it, and you might have a point. Not a lot of people talk about the levy en masse, the mass levy, the conscripted nation, because that probably was the biggest effect of the French Revolution, even more than universal male suffrage, even more than secular government. Is the realization, oh wow, we have a population, we can use it to achieve policy goals, which is usually just throwing bodies at another state. Uh, they were used until the 1930s, and then the Zeppelins. They were used until the 1930s, and then the Hindenburg disaster happened, and that's why Zeppelins were not used because we don't want that. By the way, the Hindenburg was run by the Nazis. 1936. These are the guys in power in Germany. So, sorry those guys died, but I'm sure there were Nazi Party members who destroyed the Hindenburg. Their true manifest is publicly available. Maybe that's not true. I don't know. But yeah, after that disaster, we realized this is too dangerous. We need another form of transportation by air. Um, you got all this alternate histories. And yeah, I used to be into alternate history. And even Neil Ferguson kind of likes it. And I see his argument. It's like, well, if one decision was made differently, that could change a lot of history. In a lot of ways, that's true. Imagine if Napoleon kept Toussaint Louverture as a marshal instead of making him a prisoner. That would change all world history. Um, that being said, what use would the speculation do? I mean, Neil Ferguson, he said, "Oh no, you see how things would have made." But yeah, but the world is too chaotic to speculate all from one decision. But the appeal is there; it's real. Um, let's see, how many are watching? 3 people are watching. Cool. Um, feel free to keep throwing questions at me. I'll try to answer them. It's windy today. It's cold. Winter is here. Oh, what's this? Whoa, whoa. Oh, I think you're talking about the one in the Russian Empire in 1820. I think it was 1820, either 1820 or 1830. Where there's a succession crisis. Alexander the First was dead. Nicholas the First. Don't quote me on that. There's going to be a new czar, and people who saw the French Revolution were like, hey, we can reform Russia, and they tried to overthrow the czar, and they were all killed. I think this was 1820 or 1825. And there was a movie about it. I forgot what it was called, and I think it's what inspired Leo Tolstoy to write War and Peace. I gotta read War and Peace, man, because I remember reading from the first chapter, and it was about Hardenberg. And I know who Hardenberg is. He was like Russia's foreign minister. Um, and I saw the BBC one they did. I saw Natasha Pierre, the Great Comet of 1812. And yeah, what initially inspired Leo Tolstoy to write about that was the December uprising. Um, and yeah, do check out Natasha Pierre, Great Comet of 1812. But it's more about the romance stuff. I just don't care. I just don't care at all. Like the one LGBTQIA whatever group that I can kind of identify with, besides like a solidarity thing, like, hey, these guys just want to be human. Let them do their thing. But the only one I identify with personally is the aromanticism. Like when I found that's the thing, it's like, oh, aromantic, yeah, that makes sense. I haven't really looked into it. I haven't looked into the theory or whatever. They created all these gender or love identities. What's this? Why was Russia? Because they lost so bigly. They lost bigly. Like, yeah, we're big Russia. We can push an Asian power around, and no, they were the ones who got pushed around. Mostly, the Japanese were generally known for their successes at sea by sinking two Russian fleets, and the Russian fleets just performed very badly. Um, but on land, the Russians were actually a bit more successful. Yes, they lost Port Arthur in a siege to Japan. Port Arthur is on the Korean coast. But generally, Russia performed quite badly. They were thinking, yeah, we're going to crush the Japanese, and they got crushed in turn. And there was negotiations after the war in, I want to say Portsmouth, Maine, but I'm probably wrong, between Sergei Witte, who was Russia's basically prime minister, although he wasn't prime minister of any sort of elected assembly. He was just like the first cabinet guy, and the Japanese foreign minister, and Teddy Roosevelt. I gotta look more into those negotiations. I'm fascinated by diplomatic history, and that gets short shrift both to military history and to most other history. Diplomatic history is fascinating because you're seeing the way governments actually operate, how they interact with each other, and not just through warfare, but through peace and trade as well. But most people ignore diplomatic history on both sides because military history is all the fun guns and explosions and flags and stuff. Whereas diplomatic history is just diplomats doing things, which I think is fascinating because all these characters, all these people running countries. Russia was humiliated after the Russo-Japanese War because they couldn't defeat Japan. They lost badly, even though what they mainly lost were two big fleets, and fleets are expensive. Um, and that's what led to the revolution of 1905. They realized, oh, gosh, this guy Nicky, he sucks. We need something else. And Nicky really did suck. You guys, oh no, Nicky was wonderful. He was a blessed martyr. No, fuck that. Nicholas II was really bad at his job. Oh, but he had this poor son with hemophilia. Okay, you have the example of Germany and Austria, even the Ottomans, having some sort of elected assembly that can take care of unifying the population, and he didn't do that. And everyone was telling him, don't be reactionary. Go with the flow. Maintaining absolutism, maintaining autocracy, orthodoxy, and nationality into the 20th century is just not tenable. But he didn't do that. And he's like, because God tells me to do that. Well, you know what? God doesn't actually manage a population. God doesn't have political power. People do. And that means you have to manage human relations to maintain legitimacy. And like the idea of legitimacy, I took from Talleyrand, who's like Talleyrand is like the French guy about town from this before the French Revolution to after the French Revolution of 1830. There were a lot of French revolutions, and he came up with this idea at the Congress of Vienna of legitimacy. That what matters is if people accept the government as valid. That's what legitimacy is. And that kind of destroys many ideological arguments because like most people aren't motivated by ideology. They want to be able to eat. They want to be able to live their lives. And so they're not going to revolt. They're not going to try to overthrow everything unless they're really pissed off. So revolutions are systems failure. Revolution is when all the established institutions have lost legitimacy. And what makes institutions lose legitimacy? Making mistakes, like declaring a war that you lose, like not innovating governance when that's what everyone else is doing. And that is the mistake France made under not Louis the 16th. He was trying to reform things, but Louis the 15th. No one talks about him, and there's a reason. Just as Prussia and Russia were experimenting and playing around with things, France was just going up. They were just keeping with the Louis XIV model, and it wasn't working. And they lost big. That's what the 7 Years' War was. Okay, if you're looking for a fun war game, it's coming out next year. It's called Master of Command: 7 Years' War, and it's all about the 7 Years' War in Europe. And it's playing with armies like as actual armies. It's kind of like a historical strategy RPG. I've been following its development. It's a lot of fun. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I can't wait to play it. Where you've got the Prussians, the Russians, the Austrians, the British, and the French. And like the French are kind of boring because they lose bigly in the 7 Years' War. They don't look interesting. They don't fight interesting. They're just the slow population of the problem. And if you look at governance, both in terms of international relations or domestic relationships, as solving problems, some of those problems being, well, who's the guy in charge? And if everyone's fighting over who's in charge, that's going to be all chaos. We can't do that. And I always wondered, going back to American Revolution history, well, if kings are so bad, why did people tolerate them? If religion is so bad, why did people tolerate it? And it's to solve problems. People build institutions, whatever problems they create, to solve problems. You know? Who's the guy at the top? You don't want to do like a civil war of all against all. We need one guy to hold the one ring of power on his head. And so then we can focus on other stuff. But then it's like, well, if the one guy who has all the power is very good at his job, and where other people want to do stuff, that's what an elected assembly is for. And all the people wants to be in the elected assembly. And so that was the idea, the crown, the lords, and the commons. They'll have all of them. To do any more questions, only one person is watching, but at least 4 people like the stream, so that's cool. Thank you all for coming on the stream. Let's see. Let's see. So again, I'm not going to stop when they start the ceremony for uh, for Evacuation Day. I thought there'd be people here now, but no, people. Oh, what's this? Have you ever heard of? Oh, yeah, you mean like Verdun and Tannenberg and Isanzo? I tried getting into them. I just don't like multiplayer shooters. Yeah, Sanzo's so cool. I keep telling people about it, but it's just not my thing. Look, we're talking about shooters. They peaked with Perfect Dark in 2000. They have never topped it, ever, 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 ever. So they keep trying, and they don't do what Perfect Dark did. I mean, I love that there are World War I shooters. I think that's the coolest thing ever. But I just don't like multiplayer shooters as an art form. I don't. Why? Because they're too inflexible. But then again, I don't like big open worlds either. Because they're the other extreme. They're so flexible that, like, I like level design. I like small levels. And I thought about, well, there's a core tension in game design as an art form between gameplay and story. And I thought I was a hardline gameplay guy. The story doesn't matter. But I realized, of course, that's wrong. I'm a big Fire Emblem fan. I love strategy RPGs as a genre. And those are a perfect mixture of systems and stories. And so I got Fire Emblem Engage. That was the first Fire Emblem game I dropped. Because I didn't care about the story or characters at all. No matter how good the gameplay is, I don't care. It needs context. Now, if you're looking for a fun strategy RPG game to play that's like Fire Emblem, check out Banner of the Maid. It's basically French Revolution Fire Emblem. And there should be more games like that, man. Like more historical strategy RPGs. Because you talk about alternate history, that's the perfect avenue for that. Because it's a narrative as well as a systemic form. Genre, whatever. Games are the perfect avenue for exploring alternate history. And more should be doing it. I guess devs are afraid, but they're not really. Oh, what's this? Is Statue of Liberty to what? No, no. The Statue of Liberty was redeveloped in the 80s or the 70s. So no, it's not still damaged. But I don't think they let people up in the crown or the torch anymore, just for health and safety reasons. Um, I don't know about damage from the Great War. Like there was maybe a riot or something. I don't know about that. I'll look into it though. Yeah, remind me. Uh, Dusty Oat Milk. I don't know who you are, Dusty Oat Milk. Feel free to contact me on another platform so I know who you are. Where are you based? The UK? The States? Where in the States? Where in the UK? Um, I kind of like the idea of a live stream. I'm liking it. I'm going to try to do it more often. I've never live streamed before. I got to live stream myself gaming. Um, I love answering random history questions from people. Maybe I should be doing that. But I need like a core of people who can regularly ask me questions. And keep in mind, oh, what's this? USA. Oh, really? Whoa, man, that's wild. That is wild. Where in the States? What region? Random Papa. That's great. Please like and subscribe. I got a lot of history stuff. I tried doing Let's Plays for a while. Maybe I should go back to that. I don't know, but it's like I'd rather talk with actual people. And I guess that's what's good about live streaming. But I need an audience. Oh, New England. Oh, nice. Yeah, New England's nice. You know, I've been to Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Some stuff in Connecticut. Never been to, no, I have been to Maine. Yeah, when I was a kid. But I haven't been to New Hampshire. That's the one New England state I haven't been to. Vermont's got those covered bridges. Yeah, New England in the fall is probably the best time. Not really the winter though. Upstate New York is really nice. I lost my train of thought again. Oh man, see that's why I'm probably not going to be a good live streamer. No idea. But thank you for coming, Dusty Oat Milk. I can't see very, so I have to go like this to see what people even wrote in the live stream. And I'm doing this on my phone. I'm doing it vertical. Oh, I thought it was supposed to be horizontal. It's much easier vertical, let me tell you. And it is windy. It is windy. Let's see what's going on in Francis Tavern there. I was expecting there to be people there. Oh, it wasn't in New York. It was in Halifax. Are you thinking of that being an explosion? No, that was in Halifax, Nova Scotia, not New York City. Now I get what you're talking about. No, the Statue of Liberty wasn't involved in that at all. That was up in Canada. Walk a bit. Yeah, here's Lower Manhattan. There were two munitions ships. They collided, and that explosion was like the biggest explosion before nuclear weapons. But there weren't nuclear weapons. There were just a lot of munitions packed into little ships, and big explosion. All right, I thought something was going to be happening here at Francis Tavern. I got all this information about it. I'm going to walk across the street, get some close-up views. Oh, there's going to be like an event and everything. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Oh, wow, they got live music here. Cool. I should go to this. Independence Bar. Oh, cool. Oh, man. They kept changing this place around a lot. Why? Because digging canals is hard. I gotta come here more often. Live music every night. Oh, wow. Oh, this piano bar. Oh, I gotta go to this. Oh, the piano bar, Independence Bar. Oh, wow. Oh, folk rock. Oh, wow. What is this? Oh my God, all this cool stuff. I gotta come here more often. You know what? Yeah, so the live music is here at Francis Tavern. Let me show you what Francis Tavern is. Let's see, can you see it? Here's the stoop. It's Christmas. We got a little wreath. Here we go, Francis Tavern. So, this during the War of Independence, every city in the United States on the Eastern Seaboard has at least some Revolutionary War history. But generally, those cities who have preserved them very well are Boston and Philadelphia. We have some in New York too, and here's an example. This is Francis Tavern in Lower Manhattan. This is where George Washington disbanded the Continental Army after the war in 1783 after Evacuation Day. Evacuation Day is when the British Army left. Here we go. Oh, hold on. There's bagpipes. What? Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm following the bagpipes. Okay, is that live? Let's check it out. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. I'm here for the parade. Yeah. I want to see it. All right, let's go inside. It's locked. Is it? Let's see. Is it automated? Is it recording or are they practicing in there? Let's be practicing in there. Oh, I love bagpipes. Yeah, let's see. I'm gonna go to the other stoop. Let's see if it's open. I got to go down here more often. What's this? It was English. It was built in like the 1730s. So England took New Amsterdam from the Dutch in 1664 under the Duke of York, which is why it's called New York. And the Duke of York was the future King James II. Oh, there we go. Oh, man, this place is so cool. I gotta spend more time around here. Maybe this could be like my backdrop for doing these. I think that's a. Oh yeah, Scotland. They got they got a piano bar here now. Oh, oh my gosh. Oh, I got a plan. So I don't know if you know this. I've been doing cabaret shows at Don't Tell Mama, which is like one of the first cabaret bars in the city. I think it was founded in like the 70s or 60s. But they have a piano bar here. This is getting me thinking. This is really getting the noggin noodling. You got guys working on a bagpipe here, which is kind of funny if you think about it, considering that Highland regiments were involved in the British capture of New York and evacuating New York. Vaudeville. Um, it's variety acts of all sorts. It's kind of the origins. Oh, we got our flat color guard. You're in the parade, right? Nice. Yeah, I'm here for the event. I thought I'd live stream it. I've never live streamed before. I thought this is probably the first thing to start with. Yeah. Where you from? I'm a New Yorker. All right, good. Yeah. It's like I've gone to Francis Tavern here for a long time for their events, although I haven't been lately. I've never been to the Evacuation Day event. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It is, yeah. It's relatively new. I mean, they're just bringing it back. So. Oh, that's awesome. But I have this idea I've been playing with that I think the narratives, the general narrative around the Revolution and the War of Independence has been changing over the past decade, and it's because of globalization. That it's more of an interest, taking a more Atlantic view. What's going on here? What's going on in Britain? And like looking at it holistically. Well, World War I. Oh, of course. No, you're absolutely right. But all of a sudden had to be allies. You know? Well, yeah, no, you're right. But then that's a century ago. Yeah. So obviously the historiography changes. And now I think we're going back to that. 125 years ago, there were 1 million people watching the parade on Broadway. 1 million? Wow. It was the same, obsolete. Yeah, I mean, Evacuation Day, 1924. No. 1914? Before World War I. Right, before. Oh, okay. At that point, we had to not be mad at the British. Right, yeah. That was a whole. That's why Fort Tryon Park is called Fort Tryon Park, right? That's when they changed it. I'm not sure, but like some of the engravings back then were really interesting because you see the police were like hitting on people in the
find if you look up really close at the engravings, there was a lot of conflict going on. So.
Oh, you mean when they were cutting down the flags, right?
No. During the parade that they would do every year.
Oh.
To commemorate Washington's arrival.
Sorry? Yeah, I think someone's practicing in there.
Okay. I was like,
yeah. I guess it's closed. We got a color guard here. All good, man. All good. See, something that bothers me, that shows what a huge freaking nerd I am, is when they get the British flag wrong. When they've got like the red stripes on the cross of St. Andrew, that's not what it was during the War of Independence. That only changed in 1801. You guys probably already know this.
It's supposed to represent all of the parts of Great Britain.
Yeah.
I know the white's, that's Scotland.
Yeah.
Red is England.
Yeah.
Wales has got
no, they got shafted because Wales was technically considered part of England.
Yeah. It's a blending of.
Yeah.
So, I used to work in the National Park Service.
Oh, nice.
At Fort Vancouver National Historic Site.
Oh, cool.
Near Portland, Oregon. And it was a British colonial fur trade site.
In Oregon?
In Washington.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it was, at that time, it was in charge of the entire western part of the United States, the Hudson Bay Company's operation.
Oh, yeah.
So when it closed in 1860, they greased the flagpole and they nailed the British flag up on top of the flagpole when they left. And then of course the Americans came down and tore it down because they built their operation right next to the fort.
So it was taking the piss.
So it's not a new thing.
No.
And so it was the same thing that they had done here. They had greased the pole. And what was ironic to me is that one of the guys that used to volunteer for me was a blacksmith.
Oh.
And he was from New York. And then we found out that it was his ancestor was the guy that climbed up the flagpole.
Oh, wow.
And tore down the flag. And so it was an interesting, because I knew really nothing about that.
Yeah.
The same as nobody knows about the history of the British in the Pacific Northwest.
Right, yeah.
Yet you have, Ogden, Utah is named after Peter Steen Ogden, who was one of the people who ran the Hudson Bay Company's fur trades.
Oh.
And so all of that, and it's kind of, that's not an American history.
Come on, that's so dumb. All this nationalism, it just promotes ignorance.
When it becomes American history, then it's not history. It's an interpretation of that from a particular perspective.
Right, which is useful and valuable. But realize that all nations do this. This is what they do. Yeah.
And then we soften. I mean, look at how we feel about COVID now.
It happened, it's over.
When it was going on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
time.
Yeah,
man.
A lot of people got sick, and they go, a lot of people died.
What's this so much?
There he is.
Oh, what? Well, thanks for appearing. I've never live streamed before. I just want to see what it's like. This guy's asking what vaudeville is. So vaudeville is like variety art acts. It could be stand-up comedy. It could be like magic. It could be music. Vaudeville isn't really done. Burlesque is, which is just sexy vaudeville. And it's supposed to be like classy stripping, but I don't know how classy it is. I don't know. I've never actually seen it. Maybe I should. There's a bunch of burlesque clubs around the city. Now, if you've seen the musical Gypsy, which is definitely worth seeing, at least once, Stephen Sondheim was the lyricist for Gypsy. It's all about vaudeville. So if you're curious about vaudeville, Dusty Oat Milk, I would definitely recommend looking up Gypsy. You can probably find productions of it on YouTube. Okay, it's finally getting busy here for the Evacuation Day Ceremony. This is really eating into my phone battery. How much do I have on my phone? 64%. Geez. All right. I think I'm going to stop the live stream. This has been a lot of fun. I'm just going to be taking video and pictures. And I think next time I do this, I'm going to bring an external battery. But thank you, everyone who came, listened, commented. I'm going to be doing more of these. And I hope you found it interesting and informative, and hopefully it'll stay up on my channel so you can watch it. But oh, wow. Whoa. There we go. Oh, no. There we go. Your cat turned up, named Rocky. He is cute. I would love to see pictures of your cat. If you're following me on any other service, send me pictures of your cat. Party up Q10 Productions. But I'm going to sign off now. But I'm probably going to be live streaming more stuff later today. And I'm going to be taking pictures and videos of the Evacuation Day Ceremony. But thanks for helping me deal with boredom before it. And have a lovely rest of your day. I will see you all soon. I'm going to be doing more of these. So stay tuned and keep tuned in. Peace out, everybody. End stream.